Today we are discussing brain abscesses, which are rare but extremely serious neurologic infections. A brain abscess is a localized collection of infectious material inside brain tissue itself. Unlike meningitis, which affects the meninges, this infection creates an actual space-occupying lesion within the brain. That means patients develop both infectious symptoms and neurologic compression symptoms at the same time. Throughout this lecture, we'll focus on how brain abscesses develop, how location affects presentation, and the critical nursing interventions used to monitor for increased intracranial pressure and neurologic deterioration. Brain abscesses account for less than 1% of space-occupying brain lesions in the United States, but the risk rises significantly in immunosuppressed patients. In immunocompetent adults, the most common sources are localized infections like otitis media and rhinosinusitis. In fact, about 40% are otogenic, meaning they originate from ear infections. One major clinical concept is that infections near the skull can spread directly into brain tissue. This is why untreated ENT infections, especially chronic sinus or ear infections, should never be minimized when neurologic symptoms begin appearing. This slide shows how infections reach the brain. Some spread locally from nearby structures, like the ears, sinuses, mouth, or after penetrating trauma and neurosurgery. Others spread hematogenously through the bloodstream from distant infections involving the lungs, heart, wounds, or intra-abdominal sources. Notice how many different systems can ultimately seed the brain. Clinically, that means nurses should think broadly when assessing history. A patient presenting with headache, fever, and neurologic changes may have a hidden infectious source somewhere else in the body. This also reinforces why blood cultures and source identification are so important during the diagnostic workup. Brain abscesses typically begin with Cerebritis, which is an early inflammatory infection within brain tissue. If untreated, infectious material accumulates and forms a true abscess cavity filled with pus and necrotic debris. As the abscess enlarges, it creates a mass effect. That means the lesion physically compresses surrounding brain structures, causes edema, and can even shift brain tissue. Eventually, intracranial pressure begins rising, and that is where patients can rapidly deteriorate neurologically. From a nursing standpoint, this is why frequent neurochecks are critical. Changes in level of consciousness, worsening headache, vomiting, pupillary changes, or new focal deficits may signal increasing ICP and possible herniation risk. The most common symptom overall is headache, and many patients report it being worse in the morning, because intracranial pressure tends to rise overnight. Fever may occur, but interestingly, it is not always present, which can sometimes delay recognition. As pressure and inflammation worsen, patients can develop altered mental status, confusion, lethargy, personality changes, and vomiting. One major nursing implication is recognizing subtle neurologic decline early. A patient who suddenly becomes more confused, difficult to arouse, or develops worsening nausea and vomiting should never simply be labeled as tired or uncomfortable. Those can be signs of expanding mass effect and rising ICP. One important concept with brain abscesses is that symptoms often depend on where the lesion is located. Frontal lobe abscesses may cause expressive aphasia, personality changes, hemiparesis, or seizures. Temporal lobe involvement can produce receptive aphasia, visual disturbances, facial weakness, and localized headache. Cerebellar abscesses commonly present with ataxia, nystagmus, balance problems, and occipital headache. This is where detailed neurologic assessment becomes extremely important in nursing care. Careful evaluation of speech, strength, gait, coordination, vision, and cranial nerve function helps clinicians identify progression and may even help localize the lesion before imaging results return. As the abscess enlarges, intracranial pressure can begin rising rapidly. This is where the patient may transition from stable neurologic symptoms into a true neurologic emergency. Two major red flags are decreasing level of consciousness and the onset of seizures. Patients may become progressively lethargic, confused, difficult to arouse, or suddenly seize due to cortical irritation and pressure on surrounding brain tissue. From a nursing perspective, any acute neurologic decline should be treated as a possible ICP emergency. Frequent neurochecks, seizure precautions, airway readiness, and rapid provider notification are critical interventions. Nurses are often the first to recognize subtle deterioration before full decompensation occurs. Diagnosis begins with a thorough neurologic examination to identify focal deficits and possible lesion location. CT with contrast is often the first imaging study obtained because it is fast and widely available. However, MRI is considered the preferred imaging modality because it provides greater detail and can identify multiple lesions more effectively. CT or MRI guided aspiration serves two important purposes. It helps decompress the abscess while also obtaining cultures to identify the causative organism. Blood cultures may also be obtained if hematogenous spread is suspected. One important nursing implication is understanding that lumbar puncture is generally avoided in brain abscess patients because of the risk of brain herniation associated with increased ICP. Management of brain abscess focuses on three major priorities. First, control intracranial pressure and cerebral edema to prevent brain shift and neurologic collapse. Second, surgically drain the abscess when indicated to remove the expanding infectious collection. And third, administer high-dose intravenous antimicrobial therapy capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier. Nursing care centers around close neurologic monitoring, medication administration, seizure precautions, and monitoring for signs of worsening ICP. Patients may require long-term IV antibiotics, so nurses also play a major role in PICC line care, infection prevention, medication monitoring, and patient education throughout recovery. Pharmacologic management focuses on controlling infection, reducing cerebral edema, and preventing seizures. High-dose IV antibiotics are required because the medications must effectively cross the blood-brain barrier. Empiric therapy commonly includes ceftriaxone plus metronidazole, with adjustments later based on culture results and sensitivities. Corticosteroids may be used when significant cerebral edema or worsening neurologic deficits are present due to mass effect. Anticonvulsants are often administered proactively because seizures are a common complication of cortical irritation. From a nursing perspective, close monitoring for medication effectiveness and adverse reactions is essential. Nurses should monitor neurologic response, renal and hepatic function, seizure activity, and signs of worsening ICP throughout treatment. Stereotactic guided aspiration is considered the standard surgical intervention for many brain abscesses. This procedure serves both diagnostic and therapeutic purposes because it allows providers to obtain cultures while also decompressing the abscess and reducing pressure. More extensive surgical excision may be required for very large, multiloculated, or difficult-to-drain lesions. Postoperatively, nursing priorities include frequent neurologic assessment, monitoring for bleeding or infection, maintaining sterile dressing care, and observing closely for signs of increased ICP or neurologic decline. Patients may continue prolonged IV antimicrobial therapy even after surgical intervention, so multidisciplinary care and ongoing monitoring remain critical. Nursing care is centered on early recognition of deterioration and prevention of secondary injury. Ongoing neuroassessments are critical for detecting spikes in intracranial pressure, seizure activity, or the emergence of new focal deficits. Even subtle changes in speech, pupil response, motor strength, or level of consciousness may indicate worsening edema or expanding mass effect. Safety precautions are equally important because patients with decreased LOC or seizures are at high risk for falls and injury. Seizure precautions, airway readiness, aspiration prevention, and close monitoring are essential nursing interventions. In many cases, bedside nursing assessment becomes the frontline defense against sudden neurologic collapse. Nursing care extends far beyond neurochecks alone. Medication monitoring is critical throughout treatment, especially during prolonged, high-dose antibiotic therapy. Nurses monitor for therapeutic response, allergic reactions, renal dysfunction, electrolyte imbalances, and complications related to corticosteroid use, such as hyperglycemia or hypokalemia. Functional supportive care is also a major priority because patients may develop hemiparesis, cranial nerve deficits, speech impairment, or visual disturbances depending on abscess location. This means nursing interventions often include mobility assistance, aspiration prevention, skin protection, fall precautions, and coordination with rehabilitation services. Family support is equally important. Families frequently face sudden changes in cognition, behavior, or neurologic function in their loved one. Nurses help provide education, emotional support, realistic expectations, and connections to rehabilitation and recovery resources. Successful management of brain abscess requires both aggressive medical treatment and continuous nursing surveillance working together simultaneously. Medical interventions focus on eliminating the infection and relieving pressure through antibiotics and surgical drainage. At the same time, nursing care focuses on continuous neuroassessments, ICP monitoring, seizure surveillance, electrolyte management, and rapid recognition of deterioration. This partnership is what prevents secondary brain injury. In neurologic care, outcomes often depend on how quickly subtle changes are recognized at the bedside. A small decline in level of consciousness, a new weakness, or worsening headache may signal dangerous progression long before catastrophic decompensation occurs. Outcomes for brain abscess patients have improved significantly with earlier imaging, surgical advances, and aggressive antimicrobial therapy. Many patients now recover with little or no permanent neurologic deficit, especially when diagnosis and intervention occur early. However, some patients may still experience lasting complications, such as seizures, motor deficits, speech impairment, visual disturbances, or cognitive changes that require prolonged rehabilitation. From a nursing perspective, discharge planning and long-term support remain extremely important. Patients may require rehabilitation services, seizure management education, medication adherence teaching, and ongoing neurologic follow-up. One of the biggest determinants of recovery continues to be rapid recognition and timely intervention before severe ICP elevation or brain herniation develops. As we close this lesson, remember that brain abscess is ultimately a neurologic emergency centered around rising intracranial pressure and rapid neurologic decline. The biggest nursing priorities are early recognition, continuous neuroassessment, seizure monitoring, and rapid intervention when the patient begins to deteriorate. Watch carefully for declining level of consciousness, worsening headache, focal neurologic deficits, vomiting, or seizure activity, because these may signal increasing ICP and possible brain shift. Management focuses on controlling ICP, administering high-dose IV antibiotics, supporting surgical drainage when needed, and preventing secondary injury through vigilant bedside care. And one of the most important takeaways from this lecture is this: subtle neurologic changes matter. In neuronursing, small assessment findings often become the earliest warning signs of major deterioration.